talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, and today my guest is David Angel, and he is a sales coach, and he is someone who has great results in sales. And at his peak, he had the flashy cars, the Rolex watches, and multiple successful companies, and then he lost everything and nearly lost his life due to a breakdown and chemical abuse. And he's built himself up since then, and now he's stronger than ever. And he was left with skills of selling. And so he built himself back up over the years, coaching other people on how to be incredibly effective in business. And now he uses his in-depth sales skills to help others with his interactive sales and coaching program. His goal is to help 1,000 people in the next year, and thought, that he could bring some value to this podcast and to you, our listeners and viewers, as business owners. So welcome, David, and thank you for joining me today.
No problem. Great to meet you.
And you. So tell me a little bit about yourself, other than what I've just said.
I was going to say, well, thanks for such a good introduction. So as I said, my name is David Angel. I'm a sales coach. So I help, as we were just talking about, I help entrepreneurs and businesses with specific training to get better results in business, predominantly around sales, because there's not many businesses out there that without sales do very well. So having a core focus a bit more around sales techniques, methods behind sales, how to actually approach and deal with problems and issues that come up, has really become such a valuable tool. So don't think a lot of people really spend enough time on. I think everyone's great with motivation. Everyone's good at watching YouTube videos. And the thing I always think is, if we're watching YouTube videos about motivation is going to be enough, everyone out there, I mean, you've seen how many views these things get, like 150 million views.
Yes.
They want to be a lot richer than they are. What we need to also do is have a combination. We need to be motivated. We need to have all the stuff like that, but we also need the skills and the actual processes to get things right, hence what I do now.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge to do sales without being salesy, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I know a lot of people are challenged with that, and find that, you know, in their copy that they can't help but being salesy. So can you just sort of enlighten us a little bit about how not to be salesy in our copy?
Yeah. Do you know the thing is that there's times and places for things. I think the problem is everyone sees sales as a very broad spectrum, and I don't want to be salesy all the way through. But there's a point in a sale where it is, to a degree, salesy. When you're actually talking to someone and you're trying to actually find a product which is going to meet your needs, a salesperson needs to be effective. They don't need to be a slime ball or pushy with sales. But it's about actually knowing the right things to do and when to do them. So first and foremost, one of the key areas is having processes and steps in place for what's going to happen and when. I had a really interesting chat with a guy last night who is a social media marketing expert. Now, there's a big difference between marketing and sales. And he was talking to me about selling without selling. I was like, well, it doesn't really exist. There's a sales process that needs to happen. He was talking about generating leads for marketing.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the point really to be selling. When you're marketing your products, we don't see a Nike advert on television and they're trying to force us to buy it. They use something which is going to emotionally link us and talk to our subconscious and appeal to some desires and needs to get our interest. Now, when you go into a shop, a salesperson, which I mean, there are more order takers than anything else, is going to talk more specifics about what you need and how you need it. And in business, it's very much the same. When you've got an advert and you're marketing to a demographic, you're trying to attract an audience. This is not the time to be selling people, because They don't necessarily know you. They don't necessarily know your product. They don't necessarily know if you can help. They don't necessarily know if they want to use you. So you need to separate the marketing and the sales aspect from it. Now, once you've got somebody and you've got them and you have someone who has a problem that you can fix, and you're doing your underlying access points where you're asking the right questions. This is where it transitions from marketing and getting a lead to actually a sales pitch. And the key point here, and this is where a lot of people go wrong, is the questions that we're asking. It's very easy to blurt out a question that we want to ask, but that doesn't necessarily help the other person. Now, a lot of the time, especially in business, if it's your business, and like we were saying earlier, if you're working at home and it's just you, or it's a small company, or you're a new starter, you're very keen, we won't say desperate, for deals. But you can actually, by being too keen, alienate a huge amount of people from even wanting to do business with you. Because if it comes across, it's just about the sale, it's just about the sale. And the questions are one of the worst parts about it. A lot of people hound someone with 20 questions. No one likes to be hounded with them. I know I don't, and I don't know anyone who does. What we need to do is have a series of great questions. One great question can give you more information than 15 terrible questions. And a lot of people, one of the easiest steps for this is having open-ended questions rather than closed questions. So look at it like dating. If someone sat around and said, would you like to go out on a date? All you're going to get is a yes or a no. Would you like to buy my product? Yes or no. Are you open to new services? Yes or no. But actually, with that, you're not really giving that person any room to open up, talk. So actually breaking it down and using questions to start with what, who, when, how, and why will open a line of conversation, which gets the prospect to talk more about what they need. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. The difference between marketing and sales, you've made it, pretty easy, much more easy to understand. It's quite a difference between actually marketing something and actually trying to sell something. And I don't believe that a lot of people know the difference or knew the difference until this moment. So thank you for sharing that. That's great information. So in another way, I guess, what would be, and I know you said open-ended questions, but as if you're trying to sell a service or a product, what would be some of the questions off the top of your head that you might ask somebody?
Well, it depends on what you're looking to do. And bear in mind, there's the big problem for a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses when you start is you need a lot of processes in place. And to get them all those ducks lined up in a row is quite difficult. So, for example, having a marketing strategy, then having say if you're trying to sell through the DMs. Now, selling through the DMs is a great way of talking, but actually you're marketing through the DMs. So you're using it as a fact-finding mission more than anything else. So if you're doing business to business, being quite friendly and approachable and doing it like a teenager works quite well. And what I mean by that is, if you look at why a teenager messages someone, they don't send huge, long messages. Nothing looks more uncaring and uninteresting than you haven't spoke to somebody before and they send you a message this long with
yes.
Hi, this is, and they send you almost a full pitch and they expect you to take action. Now, I know that you are extremely busy. I am. Most people out there, if we're not even busy with existing clients, we're too busy to be going through reading paragraphs of stuff that's shown no thought. They're actually short sentences but are going to grab attention is very crucial. But the step before that is actually working out, because it can be quite hard doing what we do. If you're not getting the results you want, it can be very challenging. And I think a lot of people go, I've got an amazing product, I've worked really well with it, everyone should want to buy it because it will really help them. But that's not enough. What we need to do is work out, okay, so hey, say if you get 20 deals on a month. Now, say if you're at 20 now, but you want to get to 30, you need to work out how many deals do I need to create? And say if I write 50 deals and only 20 of them actually complete, then I need to work out from there, how many people do I need to fully pitch to get to a deal writing stage? And before that, how many people do I need to contact to get to that stage? And suddenly you've got a breakdown of, okay, well, actually now I need to contact at least X amount of people per day to hit my target. And I think a lot of people don't do those basic steps. Now, once you've got this stage, so now we know we need to message 50 people, for example, or have ads that are going to generate 50 leads to get to our stage. Now we know that. Now we've got to break down the conversation. So now you've got someone who's in the right niche, is a potential buyer of your product. You've dealt with people in their same industry, and this is a great way to start with them. So you can quite easily introduce yourself along the lines of, hi, I'm David, I'm a sales coach, and I'm not here to sell you anything. This is one way of doing it. I've been working with XYZ company and we've had great results. Drop by some time if you want to know more. Now, that's quick and easy. It's not pushy. Now, if you know they're in the right industry, and if you have worked with someone in their competitive part of their industry, that will be enough to attract some people. Bear in mind, a lot of people aren't necessarily always going to react on this first point, and you shouldn't be disheartened. You also shouldn't hound them, but you've got to have multiple ways of touching base with these people. If that didn't work with those people, say if you message 50 people, but you get 2 responses, that means there's 48 people out there, which are potential people later. Now, if 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, you had some news come through, a testimonial, you can then drop a testimonial. Hi, didn't hear back before. I know it's difficult to know who you speak to. Here's a testimonial of someone exactly in your shoes who has took action. Let me know if this is of interest. Now, what you'll find is the interaction on that second one will be a hell of a lot higher because it's a second point of contact. And again, you're proving it. Now, if you've done that and you've asked a nice tying question at the end, that's going to attract something like, an easy one which works for me is using, at this point, alternate choices because you haven't spoke to them. So when we're talking on the phone or we've got an actual prospect who's interested, open questions work great because we're trying to invoke a conversation. At this point, we're trying to start the ending. The alternate choices work really well. So listen, at the end of the day, Rose, an easy way what we could do here is imagine if I message you and I say, hey, Rose, here's a testimonial from things before. I know you're probably busy. Just let me know, out of interest, what's more important to you at the moment? Is it about generating new prospects or would you be more interested in knowing how to close more deals? Now, that's a very easy one to respond to. So if you haven't messaged me back before, you've seen it, you're like, oh yeah, deals. It can just be an easy one. Now, that opens a line of communication for you. At this point, you don't want to hound them, but then you can ask a series of very nice, sensible questions. Oh, great. Well, what have you been trying at the moment? It doesn't have to be long. Short sentences. Save you time, but give me information. And then if it works out that it's a good fit, you can qualify a bit and then try and get that person onto a call to talk in more detail around the time it works for them. Make sense?
Absolutely. Now, do you in your sales process, do you actually offer freebies or anything like that as a rule? Would you advocate doing that?
It depends on your product and your service. I'm a big person about value. Now, I'm at the stage where things are great and I'm not trying to necessarily pull deals off every single person out there. I'm not desperate for business. So I'm at the stage when the fire's already lit. So if your fire's already lit, all you've got to do once the fire is lit is you've got to keep putting a log on occasionally. So actually, for that, having an ebook or something can be great. Because I wrote an ebook about overcoming mental stress and how to overcome that drama in sales. So I was one day, wrote that, took me a couple of days to write, which is great therapy in life anyway. So it hasn't cost me money to provide that. So that actually works quite well because then you're giving some more value to people. And it depends on what your product is. It's difficult in some aspects to be able to do if you've got a singular product because what are you going to give them? If you're selling a physical product, it's hard to do. But actually providing value to people, getting people to know who you are that doesn't cost money can be more important because people are buying into you as much as anything. But I think ebooks and stuff can work very well because it opens up a line of communication with that person. So I've got another ebook about selling your way to success. And this gives some nice, easy, simple steps that new people aren't quite ready to hand over money. They want to know what to do, but they're not quite committed and they're too nervous to hand over money. So actually, by giving that book to someone, they buy into it more. They're buying into me. You're proving yourself. Yeah. So yeah, I think if you can prove yourself through a free product or service or offering, then yes. because it only builds more trust, which is what we're looking for.
Okay, so a lot of us have heard about these great sales funnels, and and get your clients in the top end and get them out the bottom to give them some juicy product or service at the end of it. What is your thinking around that? Because I know there are a lot of coaches out there that aren't necessarily advocating for sales funnels any longer. They're talking about a more personal approach.
There is, and everything's a funnel. I think the word funnel has got a tarnished name. I believe you should be doing anything. I think rather than calling things funnel, is having a sales process. The difference being a lot of these funnels are fairly automated. Now that can be good, but I think a lot of the time you can need a bit more of a budget on, if you're doing paid ads and you've got a low ticket item, then funnels can work quite well. But most people are not going to automatically buy, without talking to someone, a £2,000 product. They might get interest. You've got to think, what is a funnel really doing? You've seen an ad, it's took you to a website. All we're talking about with a funnel is more of an interactive website. Because everyone's got a website. Everyone's got something like that. We just hear funnel and we think, oh gosh, it's not going to work. But there's lots of benefits if things are done right. A bad funnel is a bad funnel, but a good funnel works great. So it's having the person behind it is a clear indicator. If you ever look at someone and their children, the kids are a very good indicator of the parents. And if you've got a very pushy website, it's like having a bad kid. It's not going to help people. But if you've got something, for example, if you've got a free ebook, I have a free ebook. People can see that on, let's say, if I do a series of ads, they can download the ebook. Now, because my aim is value, what I do then is they put their email address in, and I put them, and that goes into a series of emails. So we can class that as a funnel. But I create a lot of free content. Now, if you've just downloaded an ebook about how to be mentally strong in sales, having an email once a week talking about this is what I learned this week, without anything of me trying to sell, but there's a button on there. If you want to watch one of my videos, click here. So at this point, it's not a pushy sales process. The problem with a lot of bad funnels is they're messaging you twice a day, every day, whatever it is, get my offer. It was £1,000, now it's £899, now it's £699, now it's £599. Now, I think that would have worked well when it first started because people see it as an offer. Well, I think there's a lot of people now, but they just wait. They get into the funnel to wait for a better deal. So it depends on what people have got. I think if you're selling enough value with people, the funnel is not a big problem. I think if you're trying to be a lazy so-and-so and you're trying to make the funnel do all the work, then it can be a problem for people.
Yeah. And what is your thoughts on email market? Well, I know you're not a marketer, but email marketing, basically.
This is an interesting point you bring up as well. So I'm not a marketer, I deal with sales. But because marketing, social media is not my forte. It's not really been something I've been bothered about. I do well enough about it. But it's naive to not have it. So now bringing everyone online, I want to become a force on social media. So I then go off and find people that are great at social media to get them to bring their knowledge to me. And I give my sales knowledge to them. So with the email side, email I think is good. But again, you need to cast a wide net with a wide range. If you think you're going to email 10 people and get sales, it's very unlikely unless you have something superb and they already know you. For a lot of the time out there, if you've got an open rate and it's 30%, that's only an open rate. So if you email 1,000 people, your open rate's only 300, and then you need to work out what's the conversion rate. So even if you've got that, so again, email is great for big businesses, and I think it's good. I think a lot of people need a lot of points of contact before they want to buy. So with a combination of having, I don't have a one major website. I have a series of different single-page websites for different people. So, for example, for an entrepreneur doesn't care about the large business that I'll be talking to. And I think we lose interest a lot. So what happens with me is I have breakdowns for different categories rather than think for yourself. If you were looking for something to do with podcasting, you don't need to go on an electoral website and look at video about TVs.
No.
You want to get on, get your product and get gone. So I have a series of DSLs, if you will, which are single-page websites that I will record a 15-minute video of actual training to give value, and that's specific for an entrepreneur, for a small business owner, for a medium-sized business owner. So with emails are a follow-up point off after these that are relative to what they've got. So it's like adding kindling to your fire. It helps build a little bit more, but I wouldn't necessarily use email as you've got a massive database and sit there waiting for deals to fall in.
Yeah, I agree. I think email's not quite dead yet, but there's a place for it in the sales process. But
I think things
I
like
don't
that,
I particularly like it, but
yeah, I think there's lots of options out there which will work more effectively and are quicker. When you're looking now, I don't know with yourself how much you use with things like WhatsApp and stuff like that, but it's a lot more. People are more open to opening a message than they are an email. And with smartphones the way they are now, I don't necessarily use. I use DMs. You've got emails. A DM messaging now is like what emails were before, and you've got WhatsApp, and there's a lot of options that are out there. I don't really use my email anywhere near. I use email to send out using things like MailChimp for people that are either students already, people were looking to get started, or people that have just been looking at some videos, just to provide content or receipts or stuff like that. But actual interaction with people, I don't sit and write emails to people to communicate.
No, I don't. I don't do email marketing at all. I did start doing it, but I found that I just couldn't keep up the content month after month after month, even though I could repurpose a lot of the stuff that I do. But to me, it's something that you've got to. I think there's horses for courses, basically.
Yeah, I agree. What I find with a lot of the stuff I do now, so I do a lot of videos for Insta. My stuff with Facebook is more text-based, and a lot of that will work quite well on short emails, or not newsletter type things. But if I do a video about 5 key ways to overcome objections, and I've done a video for that, I've got text, which has gone to Facebook, and actually that's good to just upload into it. And because that just ends up in the cycle. So when people come in and download the ebook, if they've only just met me now, they've missed out on, say, 6 months worth of emails, which are relative training. A lot of companies, they're emailing an offer which will have expired. So if I'm giving free training, if you come in now, you would still be valid to get the training. So actually for me, the email side's really good. For my prospects, it's really good. Because if you come in now and download my ebook, it puts you in at the start, and then every week you've just continuously got free training. So if you've got a tool like that, it works well. And also, it's a great way to store your content. And if anything ever changes with stuff, or if I want to do something with an email campaign, this keeps all of my stuff in one central place. So it's handy to do. So it has its benefits. And I think sometimes it's changing our glasses on the perspective that we have, what it can do for us. And it depends on the time it takes.
I think
sometimes it takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time.
And that time is more valuable to you doing other things.
Yes. Yeah. And, it's like working on your business rather than in your business. I'm a great believer of working on one's business and not in it. And so I try and find
massively
so that I can, find people like yourself to come on and give their knowledge and, so
it's seeing it with different eyes makes stuff. One of the big things that happens with what I do is a lot of people know their business, your industry, you're so close to it, and it's so important, and you put so much time into it and so much effort, you almost hold it too tight. And I compare a lot of things with business with relationships, and I think sometimes people can be so desperate to be loved but become too needy and actually alienate the relationship. And I think with businesses, people can hold it so tight and they're so precious about it, but it doesn't let it grow in the way it can. Businesses, a lot of the time, it starts with one idea and it changes and it evolves, just like we should from the dinosaurs. And a lot of people know the story about dinosaurs and they still don't want to evolve. We have to change with what the business becomes, not necessarily the vision of what we had for it, or we suffer the consequences off the back of that.
Yes, quite true. So, David, David, is there anything that you have that you might like to offer our viewers, or where can they find you?
Okay, good. So there's a couple of things. The easiest way to find me is on any social media under David Angel, so DAVIDANGEL, and then TSN, or the Sales Network. So David Angel, TSN. I've got a thing which actually is really good for people out there. This isn't anything to do with me, but I use it, called Shoreby. Have you heard of Linktree at all?
Who?
Linktree. So in your bio, and
Yes,
things like
yes, I do have
so,
Linktree. Yes.
so imagine Linktree was great 3 years ago. Shoreby is SHOR.BY. It's the newer version of that, and this is a really cool way of having simple ways of downloading tags and videos that can be linked onto your Facebook or Instagram. So I use that. So if you go onto David Angel TSM, at the top will be a link. Hit that link, and there's an ebook. There's about 4 different categories of videos. There's about an hour's worth of content. There's a couple of podcasts that I've been on before. And also you can book in for a free strategy call for me. So that would normally be £149, so about $180. But I'm doing that for free because what I'm a big believer in, most people I talk to from podcasts, they buy into the fact and realize I genuinely like what I do. And that can help them. So if I can do that and it helps them, it helps me grow in what I do, but it also helps bring some value and specifics. Because I'm sure there'll be people listening to this and they're thinking, okay, this sounds great, but how would that work for me? How would I do that? So yeah, you can book in, jump on a Zoom call like we're having now, but actually be about your business and actually build a plan. And you can literally click the link and it shows you what to do. And then we have a chat.
Beautiful.
Or you can grab the ebook and the videos.
Wow, well done. And any last words of wisdom, David?
Just keep going. I think for a lot of people out there, the age-old adage of we overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year is so valid. And this is the easiest way I look at it. When we do it in any job, we see the new person start. And they're really full of enthusiasm on the first day. And we know after a month, it's all dropped off, right? Now, that's not because of a big step that happened or any big failing. It's 1% a day. Now, if you lose just 1% of enthusiasm and effort and drive and work ethic a day, you wouldn't notice it on a day-to-day basis. But a month later, you're 30% less effective. And that scares me. And I think with a lot of stuff out there, we've all seen that in jobs. When people do that, and they become a month later 30% less effective. And all that happened was they lost 1% a day. So hold on to your 1%. Keep yourself accountable and make sure that you are. And my final one is I heard a guy, Joe Rogan, the other day say, imagine if your life is a massive success and in 10 years' time, you've got everything you dreamed of and a time machine's been invented. And they send a film crew back in time to film you today on your successes and how you got there. What would that film crew see? Would they see you working at your best, or would they see you slacking off a little bit? If we could have our story filmed by a crew of our journey of our success, I think we'd all work a little bit differently.
Well, that's very profound. Yes. Thank you, David, so much for your time. And I know we had a bit of a challenge getting on today, so
it's happened. It happens. But thank you so much.
All right, you take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks very much. Bye.